Rushing to meet Justin, I'm confronted with his surprising declaration. He believes I'm in love with him. Using this misunderstanding, I seize the opportunity to question him about Pete's mother. Justin's hatred for the woman who abandoned his son is palpable, fueled by Pete's fragile health and the trauma of his near death. I, in turn, reveal that Pete's mother had difficulties, leaving Justin stunned. Will Justin believe my explanation? How will he react when he learns I am Pete's mother? What will he do to Henry if he finds out about his involvement? And what will happen to our fragile truce now that the truth hangs in the balance? The private room was thick with unspoken tension. Justin's gaze, sharp and probing, bore into me. "What kind of difficulties?" he asked, his voice low and insistent. I hesitated, my mind racing. I couldn't fully decipher his intentions, and I knew I had to tread carefully. Justin could be unpredictable, domineering. I couldn't risk revealing too much, too soon. Not when the safety of my children was at stake. I couldn't afford to be reckless. I had to play this smart. I lowered my gaze, attempting to project a sense of vulnerability. "It's a big leap to assume a mother would intentionally harm her own child," I said, my voice soft. "Childbirth leaves the body weak. What if someone took her child when she was defenseless? What if she's been searching for him all these years?" Justin's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking in his cheek. "Then explain how she became pregnant with my child," he demanded, his voice edged with steel. I shook my head, a flicker of my own confusion resurfacing. Even now, I couldn't explain how I'd become pregnant. It was a mystery, a shock, even to me. "But you don't know either," I countered. "It was a surprise to you too. She could be in the same situation." I raised my head, my eyes meeting his. Of course, I'm not making excuses for her. She brought a child into the world, and she failed to protect him. The words were heavy with my own guilt, my own regrets. I remembered the chaos, the pain, the betrayal. I remembered my father's cruelty, the way he had hidden my son, my Pete. The memory was a raw wound, a constant ache. Justin watched me, his expression unreadable. I could feel his scrutiny, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. He wanted to know, I could see it in his eyes. But he held back, perhaps sensing the pain that lay beneath my carefully composed facade. He knew deep down that I wasn't the kind of woman who would abandon her child. He knew I cared for Pete genuinely, and the idea that I, Athena, a renowned surgeon, would be swayed by a mere one. $5 million was ludicrous, but he had found a baby Pete based on a tip from a mysterious woman, a woman who had vanished without a trace, and now he was questioning everything. "Justin," in a low voice. "Nora," he said, his tone unusually soft. "I'm trying to understand you." "Understand what, Justin?" I asked, my voice laced with a weariness I couldn't hide. "Why are you so interested in Pete?" he said, his eyes searching mine. "Why you care so much, it's like you're already a mother to him." I hesitated, my gaze locking with his. "Because I do," I replied, my voice firm. "Because he's a child, and he deserves to be loved and protected. Like your own child," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "And because, if you were to become a part of this family, I would accept Cherry as my own. I would treat her as my daughter." I stared at him, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. "Justin," I began, but I couldn't find the words. "I know," he said, his voice softening. "I know things are complicated, but I see how Pete responds to you. I see how you are with him. And I see how you are with Cherry." I felt a strange warmth spread through me, a sense of connection that I hadn't expected. "Justin." I tried again, but the words still wouldn't come. "Just think about it," he said, his voice low. "Just consider it." Before I could respond, his phone rang, a sharp, insistent tone that cut through the silence. He glanced at the screen, his expression hardening. "It's Lawrence," he said, his voice tight. "Something's happened." He answered the call, his voice low and urgent. "What is it, Lawrence? What's going on?" I watched him, my heart pounding in my chest, a sense of dread creeping over me. Whatever Lawrence was saying, it was serious. Justin's eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. He excused himself and left. Later, in the quiet of Pete's room, Cherry and Pete sat on the floor, surrounded by toys. They were deep in conversation, their voices hushed and serious. "We need to get them married," Cherry said, her brow furrowed in concentration. It's the only way. Pete nodded, his eyes wide with agreement. But they're always fighting, Pete pointed out, his voice filled with concern. That's just how grown-ups are, Cherry declared, dismissing his worries with a wave of her hand. They'll figure it out. We just have to help them along. What if it doesn't work? Pete asked, his voice filled with a childlike anxiety. Cherry smiled, her eyes filled with determination. It will work, she said, her voice filled with a confidence that belied her young age. We'll make it work. We'll make them happy, and then we'll all live together, like a real family. Justin's offer, his words of acceptance, echoed in the back of my mind. A strange warmth had flickered within me, a sense of belonging I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. But could I trust him? Could I trust anyone in this labyrinth of secrets and lies?